What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Trailhead. My name is Kyle.
And I'm Caleb, and today I'm going to be interviewing Kyle.
Today, Caleb is the big boy. And I'm really excited to have this episode. You know, it's going to be, just like I said, an interview from Caleb. He drove up all the way from Phoenix just to have this video.
That's it.
And welcome back. If this is, you've listened before, if this is your first time listening, really appreciate it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, comment what you'd like for us to talk about. And this podcast has been really, really cool. I appreciate you all for reaching out. A lot of men have reached out and said how this podcast has helped them be vulnerable or take that next step. And I really do appreciate all the support and everyone reaching out. It truly does mean a lot to me. You know, I wanted to create this podcast for people to, for men to have a safe space and be able to talk about their feelings and just to be vulnerable. And like Caleb said in the last episode I'm going to post today or tomorrow, vulnerability is power. And at the end of the day, that is like so key, for men to be vulnerable, to talk about their feelings and to overcome and see how they overcame it. So, really appreciate you guys. And with that, let's just get it rolling.
Yeah, let's get into it.
All right.
Good to be here, bro. So let's expand on why you wanted to start the podcast. And if you had an intention for how it would impact other people, what did you have in mind?
So Caleb was living with me at the time when I had this, it's like a message to like do it, And at first I was kind of like, I don't know, when you kind of get those thoughts, you kind of like make excuses on maybe why I shouldn't do it, right? And then I was on my trip, I was telling him, it kind of all just lined up. Like I had a laptop that was 11 years old. And like, if you know me, I don't really buy things that are, unless I need to. And so got a picture in Krakow and I put it in my laptop and I go to the airport and it's cracked. Like my screen is broken. So anyways, ended up having to buy a new laptop and like everything just lined it up. It was kind of like my old laptop would have never been able to use or record anything. It was just old. And so that was kind of how it all started, right? And then, but at the end of the day, the reason why I did it was I feel like men, they don't have a platform or a space and a safe space to be vulnerable. Like, of course, Caleb was one of my dearest friends when we lived together, bro. Like, I could come and I could cry to you and I could tell you how I'm feeling. And I felt like you were always there, right? As a friend.
Definitely.
And I feel like, it's important to have those, but not everyone has that. Not everyone has those friends or their safe space to be able to come and talk about how they're feeling and to be honest, right? Like a raw, true, this is where I'm at, right? Wow. And so I felt that men needed a podcast or a platform to be able to be vulnerable. And, when you're in the bad space, I think we are so, we are immediate to say, oh, well, no one else can be experiencing what I'm feeling, right? Like how I feel right now, I doubt there's anybody else. Now, what's crazy and how much, I've been seeing and shown since starting this podcast is like how much men in my own personal life, in my circle or in my, old circle have been struggling from almost the same things that I was, right? And now because of this podcast, they're being vulnerable. They're reaching out to me. They're messaging me personally. They're starting a gratitude journal. They're doing things that I'm not just now, talking the walk. I'm walking it, and I think that's also been shown is like my life's changing. Like everyone else, it can happen for them too. So, it was just a platform for men to be vulnerable, to talk about how they've healed, the obstacles that they've faced along the way, and how they've overcome them, right? And then maybe the lessons that they've learned from it. And so at the end of the day, that's really why I created it. It's just a platform for men to be vulnerable, talk about their feelings, and a safe space created for that.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I think we've already seen a little bit of that, especially with some feedback and other people just choosing to be vulnerable as well. I'm curious, as far as like starting and you haven't done anything like this and you weren't sure what the feedback was going to be, what were some of the fears that you had in getting started and what ultimately made you decide that this is something that you were going to do?
I think there was a lot of fears, right? When I first started it. I came home, I think you were sitting on the couch, and I'm like, I'm in the front door. I'm like, yo, we should have a podcast. And you kind of like looked at me and were like, wait, what? Like, where'd that come from? But no, there's a lot of fears, right? I had this, download to do it. Yeah. I started buying all the mics, and then Caleb hits me with, hey bro, I'm moving out.
Sorry.
What the hell?
Yeah. Sorry.
No. And so right then, right, my mind immediate was like, okay, well, I need to back out. I can't do this alone. There's no way I can do it, right? I need someone else there next to me, doing this journey with me. And the thought of that in the beginning was so scary. Like, oh shit, like I got to do this alone.
Okay.
So right then, and that was an old trigger of mine, is when things got tough, I would run. So it's a perfect instance. It's like, are you going to run? Like, are you going to do it? And so here I am doing it, and I've done a lot of episodes with you and love you. And I'm really happy we've had this, time to do it. But, I still did it, right? I was like, let's do it.
Definitely.
So that was a big fear. A big fear of mine was also to be vulnerable with the world, right? Because I can tell you, we can talk about things and I feel it's a safe space. Well, now this safe space is now in a mic, and now this safe space is to the world. Anyone can hear it.
Yeah.
And so that was also scary for me too, because I'm a private person within my own life. Of course, I'm very outgoing and I'm very social. If you know me, I've always had a big circle, a lot of friends.
Definitely.
But are they people that I would be this vulnerable with? Probably not.
Yeah.
So now it's being vulnerable to a mic and the space to the world. But I've been telling you, there's something so healing about talking into a mic, right? Like me and you talk about something, I could release it. But now with a mic, it's like it's to the whole world.
Yeah.
And I don't know what what it is. Maybe it's just because the space is so it's endless. But for right now, it's been really, really fun. I've learned a lot, and it's been such a blessing. Like I feel like I light up inside when I start these.
Yeah.
At first, I'm all nervous.
Yeah.
But then we get it going, and I'm like, let's go.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely something to be said for sharing like wisdom and lessons that you learn, and just that contribution to know that when you go through something hard, like you could contribute to other people's path and their journey of learning and facing hardship too. And that's probably really rewarding too.
It is really rewarding. And at the same time, I think men that are our age are lost. They're trying to find their way. They're trying to find themselves. Everyone's coping. Everyone's numbing. It's kind of the norm. And I was there. I'm not judging anybody for it. Anyone listening to this, we've all had our crutch, and mine was just like drinking or smoking or just kind of numbing out, right? When things got tough. And so now that I've, quit drinking for over a year, it's been almost a year and a month, which is crazy. It's crazy how when you do that and you kind of take a step back, you're like, wow, it is kind of, it's crazy. Everyone's kind of doing it. And I feel like men, we just have a lot of emotions, right? A lot of men in my life don't talk to their fathers, or their fathers have left, or they don't have a relationship with their father like me. And I think that leaves a big hole in men's life because they didn't have that direction. At the end of the day, I was raised by my mom. I'm the least handy person there is. And it's honestly, it frustrates me sometimes because I'm like trying to fix something and I mess it up even more. But they don't have that guidance. And luckily I had Boys to Men and a lot of good programs throughout my life when I was kids, or mentors or things like that helped, and my therapist or whatever, that filled that man role, but it was never a father. And I feel like that's happened to, a lot of friends that we both know.
Yeah.
And, so I think men are just we're trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out, now to be vulnerable. Like this podcast, when it was my dad's age, you'd be laughed at. Like men were not supposed to be vulnerable. Men were not supposed to, tell their stories or cry or show emotion. And so now that's all shifting. So it's just men are, and then if they don't talk about their problems, they become aggressive, and they get into fights, and it's aggression. It's like, that whole situation, like toxic masculinity. And so I think this platform is so important for men. And truly the amount of men who've reached out that have wanted to be on this podcast it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see, and it shows that if you're vulnerable, right, now it makes other people feel safe to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
It ripples.
Yeah.
And that to me has been the coolest thing about having this podcast.
Nice. As far as other goals aside from reinventing the narrative, or like the archetype of what a man should look and behave like, to be more vulnerable, to communicate better, to be more empathetic, what are your personal goals as far as doing the men's work or expanding and walking the walk of what you talk about in this podcast? I
think my goal is to just still stay on this path. And that's an everyday struggle. you know, and it's an everyday decision.
Could you define the path?
A path of sobriety, a path of centeredness, a path of
Those are big.
like being centered, right?
Yeah.
And what does it mean to be centered? Like that's a big question.
Sure.
Is to be centered is to be able to make the decisions coming from a place of centeredness, a place of oneness, a place of clarity and alignment.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's been the biggest thing is my path is, and that's a really important thing. I mean, my tattoos show it, is that's why it means a lot to me is, and the name of this podcast is Trail Ahead. You can go off trail. You can take a trail and it leads you to a whole different, you can get way lost on a trail. Like there's so many instances in my life and in my path that I'm like so lost, but it's led me to this moment.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's the thing is if people listening to this, if you're lost or you are on your path and you're like, do I take a left or right? You know, I talked to Jacob about this on our podcast when we talked is, you know, you need to walk in the dark to find the light. And I would not change anything in my life, you know, into this, even though it was the hardest thing to, right, to have it and be where I'm at today, because I wouldn't be where I'm at today. But to get, you know, to have that path, and what are some goals for me is like to keep going on this path. There's so many like jabs, like, you know, I go out with friends, like, come on, bro, just drink. Or there's like so many instances where I could just be like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And it is hard, dude. It's an everyday challenge to stay on your path, right? And now I'm doing a gong, which is 100 days of qigong every day, and I'm watching the sunrise every morning. I get up, alarm goes off. Doesn't matter if I like, you know, sitting, I got out of work late. I came home, I watched like some episodes, and then I like, you know, I woke up and I stayed up too late, and then the next thing you know, my alarm goes off, and it right there is a decision. Like, do I immediately snooze it and not get up and just like, oh, I can watch the sunset? It's like, no, I told myself I'm watching the sunrise for 100 days, so I get up. It was my choice to stay up late. It was my choice to do that. I'll do this. And so it's an everyday challenge, and that's something that I'm working on is consistency and, you know, doing the things that I need to do for myself, right? And so that's what I'm working on currently.
Yeah. Aside from sobriety, because that's pretty straightforward, how do you know if you're in good alignment?
You know, I think in the beginning stages of my healing journey, I was still learning what alignment was. Is it how I feel? Is it my clarity? You know, is it my decisions? Is it my set, you know, whatever that case can be. And now it's like I feel it. Like I get up in the morning and I start doing the mantras. Like, and so I feel a lot lighter, like a light in my body. I feel a place of centeredness. Like I don't get agitated anymore. If I do, what is it trying to tell me? My anxiety, dude, is gone. Like, and I used to have so much anxiety. I feel like it was always in my chest, you know, and it's there to teach you something, but when it's constantly there, it's like living in fight or flight.
Daunting. Yeah.
So it's, you know, now I make decisions from a place of centeredness. In the morning, I ask them, like my mantras, I ask for like what I need to do, what I need to see. You know, I ask, you know, God, spirit, whatever it is, you know, for you is, you know, show me, like I just had the room opening. Now I have a good roommate. You know, there's like, just ask and you shall receive. But if you're not in a place of centeredness, it's hard because you're making decisions not from a place of clarity. I think clarity is the most important thing of centeredness, is being clear-minded. And something that you've taught me is like through meditation, which that's something also I needed, you know, for myself, is calming, like the message that I get when I need to do, like what I need to personally do for the next step is calm the mind, like listen. We're so distracted by our phones. Like that's something that I also told Jacob, is like this gong is usually in the morning. I wake up, I grab my phone, I turn off my alarm, I check my Instagram, you know, post a video, reel, whatever I need to post. I check my email for work, and then I get up and I'm just like, that's how I start my day. And that's the complete wrong way, right? And so now it's like getting up, turning my alarm off, going immediately outside, watching the sunrise, watching it go up, you know, ask what I need, you know, say what I need to say, my mantras, my visions, what I want to bring into my life in this moment, what I'm grateful for. Then I go grab my gratitude journal, write 5 things I'm grateful for. Then I pull a daily card out of this like card deck that I have. And then, you know, you grab my phone way after if I like once I'm ready for work, right? But that's a struggle because that's like a pattern that we do, right? Is grab our phone. I mean, everyone does it, you know what I mean? So spending less time on my phone. But yeah, just, you know, to get back is a place of centeredness is coming from a place of like clarity.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm curious how else you cultivate that. So centeredness and good alignment and sobriety. So you have momentum now and you already have like over a year under your belt. And if you stay on this path, how are you going to continue to cultivate that and build momentum? And what are some habits that you really want to lock in?
So Qigong, doing that like gong every day, like I can realize, and that's the crazy thing too, is when I don't do them, I can feel it.
Yeah.
I think when you're in that path, when you're not healing path and you're drinking or you're doing whatever and you're going out and partying on the weekends, it doesn't like you kind of have this like hill.
Yeah.
And for me, it's kind of like this. And so
Very
I can,
stabilizing.
But then you hit a point where it's just like this.
Uh-huh.
As Kimberly would call it, you get out of the pink cloud.
Yeah.
Okay, so you quit drinking. It's like, so now you got to live life and figure out your daily thing because you're not numbing. And so for me, it's like Qigong, I can feel it when I do it. I can feel the Qi in my body.
Yeah.
And especially when you do the shaking, you can feel your body tingling, your fingers, your toes, your face, your body. You know, and that's a big thing. The mantras is huge. Like you gave me that mala, thank you.
You're welcome.
I've been using that every day.
Right.
So that 104 times.
Very cool.
And I've been saying Om Madi Mi. Oh crap. Om Madi Padme Hum. It means like clear. I don't have my phone.
Oh, it's
But it's like it's a saying that Kimberly texted me, and I have to look at it.
clearing mantra.
It's a clearing mantra.
Cool.
But it's like basically bringing in clean energy, releasing the old, like negative energy and things like that, and it's like protection.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's big.
Yeah.
Qigong, acupuncture changed my life. Finally found an acupuncturist in the village, which I really love. And so I've been seeing her. And so, you know, there's been that. It's been really helping me, right? I can feel when I don't go to acupuncture. I can feel that for about a month if I don't go. You know, there's things like now it's like spending your money that I used to spend on drinking or going out or whatever. Now I spend it on myself.
Yeah.
Like I go to acupuncture. I try to go every other week, if not every week if I can. You know, I go to therapy.
Yeah.
I see Kimberly, my old acupuncturist, through telehealth every like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I just try to spend more money on that, on myself, right? Yeah. And so that helps me stay clear. But yeah, daily practice is huge. And she's like, asked me, she's like, what are you going to do for your next step?
Yeah.
Like, how can you hold more? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I listen and I said stillness. So that's Qigong.
Yeah.
That's breath work. That's meditation.
Yeah.
That's getting up and doing a gong. Like that's, it's more like an initiation to keep going.
Yeah.
Right? And like, what are you going to do? Like, what are the next steps? It's like, okay, I'm going to get up every morning, 6:45, wake up, watch a sunset or sunrise, which is going to be 5 o'clock in a couple months.
Yeah.
So I got to do it. Like I told myself 100 days, I'm doing 100 days.
Yeah.
And that's where like in a year ago, bro, if I told myself a year, like quitting, like, or, you know, I went through that 90 days, like I did it, but then that's within yourself. Like, you have to find that within yourself and that self-confidence. But a year and a half ago, I didn't have that.
Yeah.
So now sitting here, I can say, okay, I'm going to do 100 days and actually do it.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, a year and a half ago, I wouldn't have had that.
Sure. So you have like a newfound capacity for commitment and personal, like self-care and just setting goals and staying with it.
I think, yeah. And I feel like I have a new life.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. You know, and to say that is, it's hard. I feel blessed, you know, yeah, but a year and a half ago, dude, this life did this. I mean, like I was telling Jacob, like this life right now, seriously felt in my next life.
Yeah.
It didn't even feel in this reach. It didn't even, it felt football fields away. And, you know, now it's here. It's in 2025, 2024. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I feel blessed. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, man. And it's really cool to see from the outside because you've grown tremendously. It's exciting. It feels really good to make moves in our lives and to feel the space that we could actually grow into when we start practicing things consistently and committing to ourselves.
And it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And I remember sitting across from a friend, I've said this before, and just wanting what he had, like feeling that lightness. Like we all can go out with somebody, and we have friends or whoever mentors, and we sit across from them, and we feel like a lightness from them, right? We feel, and we can feel it.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting across from my friend Albert, and I'm like, I want that.
Yeah.
I want that. And now, you know, I have that, and now other people are coming to me, and it's just so powerful, man, to seriously see that and see that switch. And yeah, this whole healing journey, Caleb, has been so crazy, powerful, scary, lonely. I mean, there's so many emotions around it.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm only, you know, just starting.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Well, considering that you're pretty committed to it, if you were to see yourself on this trajectory in 5 years, and maybe not like the tangible or the material things, but if you could hone in on some of the emotions and some of like the personal milestones that you would hope to experience, where do you see yourself with like 5 years of this work?
I see myself with a beautiful family. Maybe not like a family like kids yet, but like a wife or like at least a very serious relationship that we worked well together. We, you know, grew together. We strive together, you know, kind of like how we see with some of our friends or mentors. Like I could think about Paul, my mentor, and his wife, such a power couple, the most beautiful couple, like something like that. They're happy, they travel the world. And I think also just being on this path, helping other people, you know, even if this podcast doesn't grow, that's not why I started it. I didn't start this to make money off of it or grow or have sponsors. I mean, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
And be able to touch a lot more hundreds of thousands of people instead of just my following of my friends or people around me in my circle or my life. But that would be really cool.
Yeah.
And that would be powerful, you know? And I think, you know, Caleb, the biggest thing for me is just still have to live a life of gratitude.
Yeah.
You know, like even if things, the worst of the worst happens, like still be grateful.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just to live in gratitude and to, yeah, I mean, probably own another business maybe, or, you know, another restaurant or, you know, I don't know, do something, you know, still be in Sedona and having the one that I have now and see where that grows. But I think the biggest thing is just to keep going on this path, be able to hold more.
Yeah.
You know, maybe hold men's circles, maybe.
I could see that for you.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Jacob and I were talking about it. He loves you. You know, it just is I'm not ready in my life right now to be a father.
Sure.
But I know, like deep down, because of the way that my dad was, I'm gonna be the best dad.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Totally.
5 or 7 years, whenever that is, I have kids, like that's gonna be my life. You know, and I think how my kid sees me is super important.
Yeah.
Like how you show up for your family. Like if I'm sitting here drinking and I'm smoking and I'm numbing, like, and I have kids, like what is that going to be, bro? You know, like what is that going to be for their life? So I think that is the next big thing too.
Nice. Okay. So potential to reach more people, to inspire more people, possibly a partner and to like become the man that you want to be, that would father and stay on the path and be grateful for everything on your path. Is it big?
Huge.
Yeah.
Gratitude is so empowering.
It's everything.
It is.
Yeah.
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 It's true. It's honestly, it's crazy. I've had a few people reach out. I posted a reel about, you know, people doing a gratitude journal, and a couple of my friends did it and posted it.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of staff members that came to me after my staff meeting. I told them to start one. They started one, changed their life. Yeah, being grateful is just like rewires your brain.
Yeah.
It really helps.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like really, it feels like magic because it definitely insulates us from just all the chaos in the world. Because you're looking at like, oh, look, I have fresh water. Oh, look, I have a bed to sleep in. Look, I got a text and my friend is checking up on me. And it's like, it doesn't really matter if your life doesn't match the template that you imagine for yourself, or that your friends and family or people pressure you to do. It's like, nope, everything is fine. You're actually perfect the way you are. And we have so much to be grateful for. So do you journal and do gratitude journaling every day?
Yeah,
or how often? Yeah.
I do a gratitude journal every day.
Yeah.
I started it now again. I used to do it. And that's another thing too, is I can see the difference.
Yeah.
And another thing is when you don't do it for a while and you grab your gratitude journal, because I always write the date, you realize how far, right? Like long ago you didn't do it. And you're like, wow, I haven't done a gratitude journal in 4 months.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. Or 2 months or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can see how far that like, has taken. But for me, it's so empowering to do that. And journaling.
Consistently.
Journaling is so important. I don't do it every day. I personally do it when I feel like I go out for coffee, I sit down. That's something maybe I should do more. But it's so empowering to not only journal about the really, really bad times, the really, really good times, and the bad times. Maybe like, for instance, I've talked about this before, like you have a really, really bad day. And then instead of you beat an old trigger or an old, pattern. Like, for me, when things got really rough or tough or whatever, I would have a beer. So like maybe you write a journal. I can think of my own personal one that had a really, really hard day. And then I went and shot hoops and I meet someone who played pickleball and I like hung out with this guy all like for 2 hours and we're just shooting pickleball together. I didn't know who he was. It was the best. It was great.
Yeah.
And then, but it's like about those wins, like journal about that.
Yeah.
And the coolest thing about journaling, I think, is you can go back like a year ago or 2 years ago and see Kyle thought this at this day. Kyle was going through this on this day a year ago. And you're like, wow, like my life, like you're talking about the 10-year journal, we talked about that before, is like how much your life can shift. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about a journal is reflecting. Because of course, we can like think about it, like where was Kyle a year ago? But then if you go to a journal, and Ben always tells you this, my therapist, is like, journal about it.
Yeah.
Like if you have a really cool experience camping, like journal about it.
Yeah.
Or if you have a really cool experience under a tree, journal about it. Because then when you're 30 and 40, you can go back and be like, wow, like I had that. Right? Even if you forget it in your memory, it's like right there in front of you.
Yeah.
So journaling is really important. But
Huge.
Gratitude's huge.
Huge. Yeah. Agreed.
Huge.
I think it honestly takes a lot of courage to focus on gratitude because especially with the news and the climate and like just like literally everything flying at us all the time and social media and just the way people love to spread panic and not because it's fun but because it's probably pretty addictive. It takes a lot of courage to be like, I'm going to focus on my goals or the things that I'm appreciative for. And it's kind of silly to say that it takes like a big heart to be willing to look at what's good and what's going right and what you want out of the world and not be overwhelmed by everything that could go wrong or everything that is going wrong.
Well, I think we live in a world where there's like so much social media. We're comparing ourselves to everybody all the time.
Yeah.
Like, we're people on our phones. Like if me and you, we saw people who are our age, we had to see them in our eyes from our own eyes, who are rich or driving a Lamborghini or whatever it has it. And now I can go on social media and see an 18-year-old driving a Lambo and you're like, damn, I wish I had that life. But there are always comparisons, right? Yeah. We're always being like, if you're waiting in line for a coffee and everyone's on their phone, you're waiting for the line for the bathroom and you're on your phone.
Yeah.
Like we're just so, and that's why I think meditation for me and to calm the mind is so important because we're just in this go. And then we watch the news, we come on fight or flight. And then it's like, so it's anger, shootings, this and that. And then all around the politics, like, I don't care if you're left or right or whatever your whatever it is. We just fight all the time over some stupid thing that someone told me. People are fighting over a man or woman who doesn't even know their name. Like truly, no, they don't know who we are. They don't know who Kyle or Caleb are. And we're sitting here arguing about it. Like it doesn't do anybody any good.
Sure.
And we're just always in this like go mentality. And I think that's been the most powerful thing for me is to move to Sedona. Even though in the beginning it was the hardest thing, truly, that really like I just snowballed and rolled. But now it's been the most beautiful thing to just stop. Just stop and like listen and go meditate and like go hike and just listen and calm and listen to the birds and sit under the trees and just meditate and listen to the sounds and ground because I feel like we're so ungrounded. I mean, I see everyone at work, I see customers, I see everybody. Like everyone is just, I mean, they're shaky. You can feel the anxiety off people. I don't know if you see that. I can feel it. And it just is, people need to just stop and like relax and, just listen and observe. So,
Yeah, in a fast-paced world, what would you say to somebody that is afraid to slow down? If that initially, when the waters haven't had a chance to calm, and it's just kind of rocky, tumultuous, and maybe you stay in motion because you have anxiety, and there's a lot of stuff below the surface that you're sort of afraid to start to face. And you know that when you start to get quiet and slow down, those things start to come up. What would you say for them if they were just beginning to practice stillness and embracing silence?
Well, I said this before. I think true happiness is being able to sit in quiet with your own thoughts. And it's so hard. Like, it's so hard, right? Like, we sit down and we regret and we do that type of things. And our mind just goes like, oh, I wish I could have done this, or I didn't do this today. Is just practice. Like, try, even just start meditating for a minute, 30 seconds.
Yeah.
If you can sit there for 30 seconds when you wake up in the morning, and just lay there and just breathe. Like, for 30 seconds, start with 30 seconds. It's like how they say, you start running with a half mile, then go up to a mile, then go to a quarter, like a mile and a quarter. Just work your way up. It's the same thing as like everyone starts. Buddhists didn't start the first day meditating for 14 hours straight. They immediately like that. Like, they work towards it. And that's an everyday lesson, right? And that's in everything. It's like, if you're not going to quit drinking, if you're going to quit drinking, take it day by day. If you're going to start trying to sit and listen to your own thoughts and meditate, do that. Do it for just a second. You know, and what's crazy is if you go on your phone, someone told me this, you go on your phone, you look at how many hours you spend your day on your phone. Imagine,
spooky.
It's spooky.
Yeah.
It's honestly,
I didn't think I was so bad.
No, it's bad.
I checked mine recently. I was like, oh fuck, that's really bad. Yeah,
it's bad. And then you can make excuses. Oh, I have to be on it for work or whatever. My job is on my Instagram, I'm on social media, whatever.
Yeah.
But if you just spent 15 minutes of that time meditating, dude, your life would change.
Yeah.
If you spent 15 minutes writing down what you're grateful for a day. My Qigong practice is 8 minutes. If anyone wants it, I'm happy to send it to you. 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I can sit there and I can make excuses. I don't have time for it.
Yeah.
I'm running late for work. Okay, make that 8 minutes 4 minutes. Do it quicker. Maybe not do it as long. You still did it. You know, like we're so easy to make excuses for things, and that's in everything.
Yeah.
That's in personal lives, relationships, daily things, work stuff, you know, whatever it is. But if we just take it step by step and say, you know what, I don't have excuses. I'm tired, cool. You know, I didn't sleep last night, sweet. And, you know, I think if everyone just took 15 minutes out of their life and just, instead of just using their phone or numbing or whatever, they do eat sugar, you know, didn't stop watching TV for 15 minutes, Sports Center or whatever, and just sat down and, you know, spent that time on themselves, their life would start changing.
Yeah.
But it's scary. It's scary to take the first step. I mean, it was scary for me to quit drinking.
Yeah.
It was scary for me to not numb, or it was scary for me to have this podcast.
Yeah.
And one of my friends says, you are not, like, his favorite thing is to be uncomfortable. And I think it's so true. If you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing.
Yeah.
Like, that's straight up.
Yeah.
If you are so used to being comfortable, I go to this job, I get up in the morning, I have this routine.
Sure.
I get on my phone at this time, I go to bed this time, I watch TV, I go, you know, whatever. It's like, I hang out with these same people.
Yeah.
You know, if you're comfortable, that's great. Most people are okay with that. But that uncomfortableness, like, this podcast is so uncomfortable. Remember how long it took us to do, like, the first time?
Yeah, just getting
like 45 minutes. This is the first time I ever did this. Like, fuck it. You're like,
no podcast.
You're like, that's it.
I'm out.
I'm gonna turn the mics. You know, but, like, seriously, it's to be uncomfortable is where you grow. And right now, I can tell you, like, walking that is so true. Like, to where we grow and really find ourselves and our true selves.
Yeah.
Is when we're uncomfortable and in uncomfortable situations.
Yeah. Discipline.
So discipline is like what I'm learning right now. I mean, of course, discipline, year and a half of not drinking, a year, year and like 13 months, that takes discipline.
Yeah.
But now it's like, it's a learning curve. It's an everyday thing. Okay, now my discipline is getting up every morning, doing Qigong, watching the sunrise.
Sure.
Like, that's my new, discipline. And yeah, like, it's changed my life. I can already feel it. It's been, I think, a week.
Yeah.
And I can already, like, feel it. I feel lighter. I go to work and I have more calmness of me. More groundness, earthness. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like just being vulnerable and speaking and being able to be, let's see, what would be a good word? spontaneous in your delivery and everything, feels more natural.
I think that if you can tell if someone's coming from a place of genuineness and not like natural, and they really mean it.
Yeah.
Like this podcast is for me a way to be vulnerable and like truly learning how to be vulnerable, right, with people I don't even know.
Yeah.
And of course, people listening to this can say, "Oh, look, I knew Kyle in high school, or I knew Kyle in college, and this and that. Like, I doubt Kyle's really changed, or I doubt it that he's in this space." And I just ran into somebody. I was grabbing coffee yesterday, and I ran into somebody that's an old friend of mine, and he went through a really, really hard time. And he had a lot of anger issues, and he would lash out on people and friends and other people. And he said to me, "It's like, hey, I'm really sorry for how I acted when I was in college and years ago. And I was really, really hurt, and I didn't really know how to control my emotions." And he told me a lot of personal stuff that I didn't know that was going on. And he just said, "I'm really sorry." And I looked at this person and I said, "You know what?
Fuck you." No, just kidding.
No, truly, I just said, I totally hear you and accept you." And I said, blank his name, and I said, we all have learned. I wasn't perfect when I was in high school.
Yeah.
I was not perfect. And anyone that had been in that moment around you also wasn't perfect. And now all that matters is where you are now and the lessons that you learned from it. That's all that matters.
Yeah.
And honestly, dude, fuck everybody else and how they feel.
Sure.
And how they think of it.
Yeah.
Like, truly, all that matters is you sat there and you sit there, which is so hard, Caleb, and sit there and say, I have to accept myself.
Yeah.
Maybe that other person won't accept my apology, or maybe that other person can't accept my apology, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you hurt that person really, really bad, but all that matters, and I'm still working on this, is accepting myself for my old actions. But at the end of the day, I told him, I said, that was you in 2018 and 19 and 2020.
Yeah.
We're now in 2024. We're now in 2025.
Yeah.
Like, you're a whole different person. If you were still doing that, and you were still lashing out on people, and you were still getting angry at everybody, well, then you don't really, like, you haven't done the work, and you don't say sorry because you're still doing it.
Sure.
But now, because you're doing the work and you've done the work and you've listened and you've like accepted, okay, you just have to move on. And and it's been hard for me is because I really care about, and I used to really bad, and not as much anymore. When I was younger, I cared about what everyone thought of me.
Totally. Yeah.
Everyone, dude. Yeah. And now it's like, if, listening to this, if you don't think I've changed, all that matters, Caleb, is I know how Kyle walks this earth every day. I know how the Kyle that shows up. I know the Kyle that walks out this front door every single day, going to work, going out in the world. Like, I know how I show up within myself and in my life.
Yeah.
And if people don't see that, or maybe I have a lot of people say, "Oh, like how you said," like, I can't imagine that that's how it used to be. But that's growth. Like, that's the most important thing, is like, are we going to stay where we used to be? Or are we going to just take that, like, that unscaredness step to the unknown and say, okay, I can maybe do this and it might work, but like, are you not going to not do it? Because right now it's not good. Like, right now it's scary. You're not doing well in life, or you're not a good person. And so like even if you take that step into the unknown, what could go wrong, right? Like, what if it doesn't work out? It's better than where you used to be, and so I was like, I really appreciate you apologizing. But at least at the end of the day, Caleb, is he realized it. Yeah. Some men, and I'm sure and people I know, they'll never realize it. Like my father. Yeah. My father will probably die on his deathbed and realize he's so narcissistic. It's everyone else's fault but himself. Sure. It was my fault for not.
And that's the other part.
And then there's the other part.
Yeah. Maybe it is your fault, and you do realize that, and you're not gonna take accountability. And you're just like, it's the world's problem. It's your programming. It's your past or whatever. So, good on him for like going through, journeying into his own truth and being like, I was wrong and I created pain for other people, and being able to apologize after the fact. I've had to do it a lot. And I think it's tough.
It's really tough. And I think that's the hardest thing for men to do, is apologize. Yeah. Like, seriously. Wow. It hits our ego and it hits our heart, and we're like, do I need to apologize? Like, is it the other person? It can't be me. Yeah. There's no way.
Why do you think that is? Do you feel like lesser, or like lesser, that you made a mistake or something?
I think most men are like like I'm laughing because it was me.
Terrible.
It's like yeah,
Yeah.
forget what you say. No, most men are like one, scared to say sorry.
Sure.
Two, take accountability.
Yeah.
And three, be emotionally like available
Okay.
to say
Totally.
it was me.
Yeah.
You know, like in a relationship, like that was something that I was when I was younger.
Yeah.
Was like, oh, like no, it's you.
Yeah.
You know? But then it's like you look in the mirror and you're like, you know, like I can look at myself in the mirror Caleb, today and be happy with who I am.
Yeah.
Like I can brush my teeth and look at myself. There's times in my life where I'm like sitting there brushing my teeth and I can't look at myself.
Yeah.
You know, and that sucks. But like what really matters is today. You know, like it's February 24th. Like today I know who I am.
Yeah.
Right? Like today I've apologized to those people. Today I've accepted how I used to be and my old actions, and I've just learned to accept them, and I've learned to release them. You know, but it's taken a lot of work, and you know, and that's I think another huge thing is people are so easy to judge, but then don't want to look within themselves and do the work.
Yeah.
Like I can judge someone and say, oh, he drinks a lot. But they will never talk about their drinking.
Sure.
You know? And I think quitting has really, I've lost friends because I quit drinking because I feel like, and I asked somebody this, and they said, well, it's because you are kind of showing them what they need to work on.
Yeah.
And like reflecting in a mirror of themselves. And I will be honest with you, like, and I've said this to people and my own friends, I've told you before, this path has been really lonely.
Yeah.
Like sobriety and working on yourself and healing has truly, honestly been really lonely.
Yeah.
And I say like loneliness, like what does that mean? Loneliness means that when you're sitting and like you are the only one healing, you're the only one not numbing in a room of your friends. Like you're sitting there and you're sitting back and you're like, you know, it's lonely. Your friends come up to you, hey bro, you sure you don't want to drink? Hey bro, you want to go out? Like it to me it can be lonely. And like you sit there and you're like, damn, like am I the only one in my friend group not drinking? Am I the only one healing? Am I the only one talking about this? Am I the only one being vulnerable? Am I the only one sitting there and meditating and like talking within myself and listening to my thoughts?
Sure. Yeah.
So it can be really lonely, especially when you're around people. I mean, now my friend group is very small and I'm very selective with who I surround myself with. But when I was younger, I wasn't. I mean, it was just like I had friends everywhere. But at the end of the day, were they real friends?
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think we decide and we figure that out when we get older. It's like who our real core friends are, you know?
Yeah.
And honestly, thank you for the ones listening to this. And I love you so much,
Let it
Caleb.
go.
You know, like to have powerful men in my life. And that's a big thing. That's my 5-year goal is to keep surrounding myself with powerful, genuine men who in my life can touch like a heart, like touch a piece of me and like that can be friends. That can guide me, that can, you know, like I said, I didn't have a father. So to have genuine role models in my life, and especially men like around my age or even older that I can like listen to, like Jacob, dude. Jacob is like, he walks into the room, like he walked in here to this podcast and it's just like his laugh and he's like, hey bro, and then it's this light. And like, that is something that I want to be. Like surround yourself with other players is so important. Dude. You know what I mean? Like it's so important to have those quality men in your life that can be vulnerable, that you can talk to about this, because men, we don't really have that. And we don't have a safe space to be able to talk about our problems and our like things. Like I feel like there's so many things, you know, like women have circles, or there's this women's circles, or there's like women hikes. And like for men, it's kind of like we just shelter. Like when things get tough, it's like we go pick up a bottle, we play video games, we, I don't know, go do jujitsu, or we do like angry,
manly
you know,
stuff.
Yeah, we like we take it out on aggression or fighting or whatever. And it's like, okay, but what is that gonna do? Like, of course, it's nice to get it out. But it, like, I had someone ask me, like, I have so much anger, like. He's like, I want to create something for men to just go throw stuff and bash stuff. And I'm like, I think that's healthy. Like, but there's a lot, but like, that's not really healthy. Like, I don't know how healthy that is. Like, I think you should start kind of like figuring out why you're angry before you just start bashing stuff. You know, I mean, we can go out somewhere in the middle of the forest and yell, but like, I don't know. That's just my personal.
Sure. Yeah. Maybe both. Good stuff. Yeah, anger's a really fun one, and having a space to like express it in a functional way is huge. But like you said, man, they're all messengers, and they're all telling you something, and it's a message from your body to make some adjustment in your life and whatever you're experiencing. As soon as you get still and you really practice listening, then you start to get the messages a lot clearer. So it's definitely a practice and something that takes time and is totally worth cultivating. And I'm sure years ago, before you had ever meditated or experienced like a moment of mental stillness, if somebody was like, you need to practice just being quiet or not moving around and just listening, it'd probably be hard to wrap your head around. You'd be like, why? Like, what are you talking about? Like, we don't really go out into the world and just sit there. You don't like sit in a grocery store. Like, we're meant to like do stuff. And when you first start to experience that stillness and slowing down and experiencing what a different gear feels like, that's way lower than you've been operating, then it kind of floods your experience, and you're like, whoa, there's so much happening here, and it's not fast paced. It's not sexy. It's not glamorous. It's not invigorating. Sometimes you could have weird experiences, but for the most part, it's very peaceful, and it's just experiencing grace and inner stillness that's so valuable. So on that note, as far as creating a good space where people can be vulnerable, thanks for doing that. And if there's anything that you wanted to say to anybody that could be listening, in terms of embracing that space and cultivating stuff that they could be proud of, what would you leave them with?
I think I would first say I hear you. I've been there. I'm like, a lot of people listening to this have my personal cell phone. Please reach out. It doesn't matter the time. But also, if you live, close to me, reach out. Like, let's get together. Let's talk about it. If you don't, find that circle. Like, find 5, or even just start with 1. Like, I think I truly love you, Caleb. I really appreciate you.
Likewise.
You were here in my life in a very important time. Like, I bought this house. I didn't know, my first roommate who's going to be here, and then opportunity for you to move in. It truly was the most beautiful opportunity, because it started this also. Yeah, I was healing and I was growing, but now it's like surrounding yourself with someone who you can truly, like, I would come home and I've like cried to you a few times. Like, just walk in, like, hey, I need a hug, bro. Like, can you I need some advice. Yeah. And to have someone that you can truly lean on for any advice, or, any questions, or that's not going to judge you, like a truly safe space, start with that. Like, find just one person. And, a lot of men, we'll be vulnerable once you're vulnerable. And I've like truly found that through this podcast.
That's cool.
Is because I was vulnerable and told my story, they reached out, like I was at a basketball game a couple weeks ago, and I had posted my one-on-one, and then I was out with a friend, and he's like, hey, halftime rolls around, and just was super vulnerable the whole 12 minutes. And we've been friends for years, and he'd never, he was a great guy, but that vulnerability, just because you are vulnerable, it means other people will be vulnerable. And that's super power, right? Vulnerability is power. And so just find your circle, surround yourself with people who are not going to judge you, and that you can be yourself around at the end of the day. Yeah. And and that's the thing, is like, some people are scared to be in a relationship, right? Like, there's some things that you might not want to tell your girlfriend. Sure. Or if you're a girl, you might not want to tell your boyfriend, or whoever that is, right? Like, you need to find that person. For mine is my therapist, who I can be, or you, or like real close friends who I know aren't going to judge me. It could be the most fucked up thing, but they know I'm not going to be judged. Yeah. And Ben, like, I have that from my therapy, and I met him when I was 13, and like one of the lowest points in my life. And, we've had this relationship for 20 or 13 years, where I can be vulnerable with him about anything. It's a safe space. Yeah. Find that safe space. And if you don't have anybody to like reach out to, or you can be vulnerable, write it down. Talk to it, journal it. Yeah. Like, something that has really helped me was I wrote my dad, like, my father letter. I sent it to him. I was in Telluride. I went hiking, and Kimberly told me to put it down the creek. So I wrote the letter to my dad. When I sent it, I made a copy. I was hiking. I found a big stick. I had some string, like some like like compostable like little stuff.
Yeah.
Tied it. Went to the creek, meditated, journaled, watched it go down the creek, watched it go down, cried a little bit, sat down, journaled about it, my feelings, how I felt in that moment, and let it go.
Yeah.
Like that was so powerful, you know? And just do something like that. Like there's things within your own life that you can do if you don't have somebody there. Like journaling, writing it down. Full moons, great time for me to burn stuff. I write everything that I'm burning, like want to release, and I burn it. For new moons, write things you want to bring in, release it. Like keep it. You know, like whatever, find your routine that works for you. Stuff that maybe I do won't work for you.
Sure.
It doesn't work for you. Things that you do won't work for me. It's all our own journeys. And that's the most like thing is like, one, don't judge other people because everyone's learning. Everybody's growing. Yeah. Everyone's trying to figure out their life. Everyone's figuring out themselves. And that's the cool thing, Caleb, is, dude, we're all in our 20s. Like, we're figuring this out. Like, Ben tells me,
Sure.
You're so ahead of your time.
Yeah.
You know? And that is powerful. Like, start it now, right? Just because you're 25, 27, 30, or 32 doesn't, or 35 or 40, oh, I don't have the life that I want today. Well, start. Yeah. Take that step.
Definitely.
You know, you're only 30 or 40, you still have 50 years left, 40 years left. So just, if you can't find that person to be vulnerable with or to have that safe space, create that safe space around you and yourself.
Sure. You know? Yeah. It's a good invitation to start exploring like how you can tune into what's going on below the surface and like really find a way to communicate it. And it's changing the narrative around vulnerability, because I think the connotation, it even sounds kind of feminine. It's just like, oh, you want to be vulnerable? It's like vulnerability means taking off your armor. It means like opening up yourself and choosing to be in a position that you know you could get destroyed in. And it's like taking off the fucking armor and stepping into a space that's so uncomfortable and so dangerous, it seems like, to your heart, that you're willing to communicate the deepest parts of you and your deepest feelings long enough to release the tension and trust another human being to go into that space. And that's crazy. So I think doing something like you said down by the river, that's just like, okay, I'm going to do this for me, and I know what I'm feeling, and I'm going to choose a ritual that'll help me release it and move this energy so that I'm not weighed down by this emotional baggage anymore. And now with a mic and a camera, you could tell that to everybody that listens. So it's like, that's crazy, because if it's something that had bothered you for that long and something that's been such a deep wound in your heart, like you took that from not only understanding it and unraveling it, releasing it, and now you're communicating it to everybody. So that's crazy huge. Vulnerability is not feminine, or I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it's part of our feminine nature, but it's definitely not weak. It's like definitely something that takes incredible strength. So good on you for that. Do you have anything else you want to touch down on, or how you feeling?
No, I honestly think that was a good start.
Cool.
You know?
Yeah.
I just want to say, thank you truly for listening to this. This has been a light within my own self. Like it just lit a fire in me, Even when I first started it, I was so nervous. I remember our first episode. It was like, can you, I think we sat down, started the camera 3 times or 4 times.
At least.
And then I was like, all right, dude, you're going to have to start this. And, just if you're listening, just try to be uncomfortable, try to take whatever that is. If you are uncomfortable talking to somebody, find one friend and just start, hey, can I talk to you about something? Or if you are uncomfortable, if you're not comfortable journaling, just pick up a journal. Even if it's a couple words.
Yeah.
Today, February 24th, I feel like this. Perfect. You started. It's just taking that first step, and that first step can be super scary.
Yeah.
But then it rolls. Do you think that a marathon runner could run 24 miles in the first day? No. It takes practice. My life, I can say, was a lot of my life now. How I got here was a lot of work within myself, but it started somewhere. It was a first day journaling. I can go look at my journal. And it's not all pretty. It's not going to be like where you
Like
start.
10% of
Yeah,
it.
it's like, yeah, you're going to start here and you might go here and then you might
Yeah.
go way here and then like I did and then you go way up here. And then,
Sure.
you know, whatever that is for you, everyone's story is different. But just take that next step. Go into the unknown. You know, if you're walking a certain path and you've walked it for a while, try to take a step back out of it and take one step foot in the other path, the path to the right. You know, whatever that is, and just try to grow each and every single day. Like that's the most important thing. Is like I just sat down. My friend came to visit me last night for dinner at work, and he was saying, just try to get better every single day. Like it doesn't matter if it's eating one healthier meal a day than you ever did before. It's drinking 1 ounce of water more than you did yesterday. Whatever that is for you, just try
Just
to
increments.
just
Yeah.
increments, because then that increments is going to lead to a whole gallon a day of water or whatever it is, right? Like just spend the time on yourself, because truly you're so worth it. And at the end of the day, it sucks to say this, but no one's going to come save you but yourself.
Sure.
Like that's something I love to touch on, is like no one's going to save you but yourself. And at the end of the day, you're going to have to pick yourself up by the end of your bootstraps, and it's going to have to be you.
Yeah.
And maybe you're not ready for that yet. You know, maybe the people who are listening to this right now aren't ready to take that next step. We'll take a half a step. You know, just like if you're not ready today, that's okay.
Yeah.
But just start maybe tomorrow. You know, like and it's scary, but it's so worth it. Like you are so worth it. This life around you is so worth it. This world around you is so worth it. You know, the space for friendships are so worth it. Your healing journey is worth it. And then you attract, dude, like since I've been on this journey, the friends and the new friends and new relationships or whatever that I'm attracting are beautiful. Way more beautiful than they were before, because you are who you attract. So work on yourself, take that next step, go into the unknown. It's a lot, but like, you know, just be grateful.
Yeah.
Like go hug a tree. Like truly go outside and find your first tree that you found and go and run and hug it, because truly, and ask permission to touch it first, like connect with it before you do that, but still hug it, you know, and like sit under it, bring a journal. Like listen to what the tree has to say. Like I know that sounds very hippie, but trees are the most grounded things in the world. Like that was what started my journey, which is why I got this tattoo. Is I sat under a tree. I had a crazy experience. It told me to like be still and listen. Well, look what I just talked about. Listen, be still. Like I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
But listen to it. Like trees, give it everything. Like that day, dude, I cried under that tree for probably, I don't know, it was a long time. And I just gave it everything.
Yeah.
You know, emotion, have an exchange of energies. They're super grounded. Their roots are way, way in the earth. They can take it. Like trees, you know, whatever that is. If it's trees or if it's meditation or go sitting by the creek. Another really cool thing that helped me is go to the creek, put everything you want to release in your toes. Like all your emotions, all your anger, your sadness, your depression, your guilt, whatever, your sorrow, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Put it as under your feet. Put your feet in the water and watch the water go through your toes.
Yeah.
Really told me that. Really helped me.
Nice.
Things like that. Like use the nature. Like we're blessed. We live in Sedona.
Yeah.
We're blessed to have the nature, but not everyone does. But there's trees everywhere. You know, there's things. Go sit outside. Go meditate. Go sit in your hammock. Whatever it is. Go. The Stupa, if you live in Sedona, is my favorite place. There's something about that place, dude. Like I don't care if
So
I'm having
cool.
the worst day.
Oh my gosh.
You walk there and it's like. And also just say a prayer.
It's really cool at night.
Oh,
You know, well, like sunset when everybody's clear now. It's
So
just
you go to, like,
just extra
midnight.
quiet. Yeah. Yeah.
No, but it's just find that place, right? Like even if it's a coffee shop or outside on your deck or like at your mom's apartment, you know, like that beautiful
Sure.
view, whatever, whatever you find for you
Yeah.
is that safe space. Sit there and just
Anywhere you could ground.
anywhere,
Yeah.
you know, and ground. Like
Yeah.
do some qigong, feel the feet. And another thing she told me is sit under the tree and feel your tailbone, like sitting like crisscross. And feel your tailbone on the ground. You're grounded. Like I'm sitting there. I'm sitting in the under the tree, and just be grateful. Like I feel like that is the number one thing. It's just like there's so much to be grateful for. Like even when you're in the lowest points of your life, there's still truly so much to be grateful for. And living in gratitude will truly switch and change your whole life, changes your mindset, rewires your brain. You'll start attracting more things. You'll start attracting more friends, more relationships, people around you, more beautifulness, more lightness. Like just be grateful for where you are today, because like we just talked about before this podcast, like your life could end tomorrow. You don't know.
Definitely.
And so just be grateful for where you are. for the life you have,
Yeah.
for the friends you have, for the family you have, for the life you have. A place like we wake up, we have a roof over our head, like we get to eat food, like, we live a better life in a lot of the world. So just be grateful. Just be grateful.
Just be grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And love yourself. Hug yourself.
Definitely. Gratitude, self-love, self-care.
And like drink some water, eat some good food, take care of yourself,
Breathe fresh air.
breathe fresh air. You know,
Good stuff.
just hug yourself. You know? Hug a friend. You know. So thank you for listening. Yeah.
Thanks for letting me. Yeah. Thanks for letting me interview you, dude. Always
you.
good. Always a good time. Love you, bro.
Thank you if you're the first time listening. Thank you for tapping in. If you're coming back, welcome back. We're gonna be doing this weekly. I'm still trying to pick a day. What day of the week? I think Tuesday. I'm gonna do it, or Wednesday.
Tuesday's trailhead.
Yeah. You
Nice.
like that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tuesday, dude.
Tuesdays?
Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Trailhead.
Nice.
Trailhead on Tuesdays. We love you guys. Much love. Appreciate you tapping in, and we will see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you. Have a good day.